The Iran nuclear deal was a landmark agreement signed in 2015 between Iran and the P5+1, the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, plus Germany and the European Union. At the time, it was hailed as an historic boost for regional peace. Today is at the heart of a diplomatic crisis that keeps pushing the world towards a potential war. Can that be avoided, and at what cost? Some of the questions I'll put to my guest today, Iran's Foreign Affairs Minister, Cevad Zarif. Thank you very much for speaking to Euronews today.
It's good to be with you.
This is it. This joint comprehensive plan of action, 159 pages, the masterpiece you have helped negotiate for a period of over 20 months. You say this is the best possible deal and it's non-negotiable. But this document has been on life support for over a year now. Do you still believe this deal can survive without the United States?
Well, I believe the United States was a part of this deal. The United States negotiated this deal. Most of the time, even the United States worked on behalf of the other members of E3+3, that is the 3 European countries and the 3 other permanent members of the Security Council, US, Russia and China, and it is meticulously negotiated. It's not an optional arrangement. It's an arrangement that is backed by a Security Council resolution. It is a part of the Security Council resolution. As you pointed out, it's 159 pages long. It wasn't done overnight. It's been very carefully negotiated. Almost every word of it has gone through difficult negotiations. So I know it's not the best deal. It's not what I wanted. It's not what the United States wanted. It's not what France wanted. We all had our complaints about the deal. Some of those complaints were made publicly. Some of those complaints were made privately. But that's what a multilateral agreement is all about. You can't get everything you want. Otherwise, it won't be an agreement.
Absolutely. You said it was the best possible deal at the time. But it's been crumbling for a year now. And you are here in Europe, you're in Paris today, to try and resuscitate it. You met with the French President, Emmanuel Macron, one of your biggest allies in this quest. Did he say anything new? Has Europe made any new promises to Iran?
Well, President Macron, in his conversations with President Rouhani, as well as his conversation with his other partners in Europe and elsewhere, has been trying to do his best. This deal is based on mutual reciprocal commitments. Iran has been maintaining its commitments, as you pointed out, but the United States has not. It withdrew from the deal, and the Europeans have been under restraint and constraints in order to be able to do their part of the obligations under the deal. We discussed with President Macron how either the United States could come back to implement its part of the bargain, or how Europe and the other 2 members of JCPOA, plus the rest of the international community, can live up to their commitments, which are independent from the United States. Of course, we know that the U.S. has a big footprint in global economy, but others also have an important role.
And did he say anything new? Did the French president have any good news to present to you?
We had a very good discussion, and President Macron will continue to talk to his partners and to see where we can go.
You have accused Europe and your European partners of inaction, of failing to do enough to salvage this deal. Now you've offered Europe an ultimatum until September 5th. That's it. No more deadlines for Europe to help you salvage the JCPOA. What happens on September 6th?
We didn't give anybody any ultimatums. What we did was, under the deal, because this deal was negotiated not in an atmosphere of mutual trust, but in an atmosphere of mutual mistrust. So within the deal, we have a mechanism to remedy if one party or the other violated the agreement. And we are working based on that mechanism that is in paragraph 36 of this very long and thick document that you have in front of you. So we're taking those measures. We didn't issue ultimatums. We only gave our European partners and Russia and China, who are our strategic partners, a timetable. In my letter to Federica Mogherini last November, in November 2018. I told him we will be giving you a timetable for our implementation of paragraph 36. We finally gave that timetable on May 8th, and we are working based on that timetable. This is within the JCPOA. Actions that we have taken have one important characteristic, and that is they are reversible. If Europe, alone or with the United States, and that's up to Europe, decided to fulfill their part of the obligation under the deal, then we can easily, within hours, return to full implementation of the deal.
You are applying an extra layer of pressure right now. Why exactly enriching uranium now? What do you gain from it? And how do you expect your partners here in Europe to continue defending Iran in this path?
Well, we did not withdraw from the deal. We did not abrogate the deal. We did not abruptly leave the deal. We are using the mechanisms within the deal. We are using the provisions in the deal that has been foreseen in the deal. What is important is our partners in Europe have to make a decision not about Iran, but about how they want to deal with the United States, whether they want to have independence or whether the United States can impose its will. Now, if the United States were to impose its will for Europe to abide by international law, it would be bad, but it would be justifiable. But now the United States is imposing its will on the rest of the world to violate international law. That's totally unacceptable. And for Europe, whose future is based on multilateralism and the rule of law, this is a threat against the future of Europe. And I think it's an important decision. And we are happy that President Macron is taking the lead, but we know that Europe wants to be able to make its own decisions and not to allow others to make decisions for it.
Your spokesperson has gone as far as saying, we have no hope nor trust in anyone or any country. That is a pretty bleak diplomatic picture there. Who are your friends today?
Well, in international relations, we want to engage with everybody, but we only trust our own people. We put our confidence in our own people, and that is why we have been able to survive through 40 years of pressure from outside, and we will continue to survive, basing our trust in our people. It doesn't mean an isolationist foreign policy. In fact, we are engaged in our region, we are engaged in fighting terrorism, we are engaged in fighting aggression and imposition in our region, and we will continue to be an active player in the international community. But at the end of the day, we have learned the hard way that we need to only put our confidence in our own people and our own ability while we open our arms to engagement with others.
I want to talk about one of these engagements, a controversial one, your engagement in Syria. One of your most important allies is the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. This is a war that has cost 400,000 lives. It has displaced millions of people. It has lasted for 8 years now. Why to continue supporting Assad despite all the evidence of what he has done against his own people?
Well, the problem is this was not a war that Assad started. This was a war that was imposed on him and the Syrian people from outside. Now the record is very clear that some of Western allies helped Daesh, helped ISIS, helped al-Nusra. Even some continue to finance al-Nusra. And had he not fought with Daesh, you would have had now Daesh having its capital in Damascus rather than being an organization without any territory. We helped in that fight. We helped the people of Syria as we helped the people of Iraq and as we helped the people of Iraqi Kurdistan. When Daesh attacked the Kurdish region, Mr. Barzani, the leader of the Kurdish regional government of Iraq, called everybody. He called the United States, he called the others. Nobody came to his assistance. The only people who went and assisted him to fight Daesh were Iranians. So we have fought the war of Europe for Europe. Otherwise, you would have had to deal with a terrorist organization, with an extremist organization who controlled a big chunk of territory.
You have also helped shift the balance of that war in favor of Bashar al-Assad.
We have shifted the balance of that war against terrorists, not in favor of anybody. We hope that we have done it in favor of the people of Syria. We have worked...
Do you think the people of Syria benefited from that?
The people of Syria, nobody benefits from a war. But people of Syria have benefited from the defeat of Daesh. That is the important criteria. And we have worked for the past 3 years with Russia, with China, with Turkey, in order to end the hostilities. We have been able to de-escalate. The only plan that has worked for the past 4 years since 2015 has been the Astana process, and we continue to work on it. We have now almost finalized the Constitutional Commission for Syria. So we're moving forward, and I believe that is an important contribution to regional peace and stability. We offered 6 years ago, when I became foreign minister, we offered a peace plan for Syria, as we offered a peace plan for Yemen immediately after the war broke out. Saudi Arabia at that time believed and announced that it could have a military victory. The same is true for Yemen. They believed, you all know, that they believed they could overrun Yemen in 3 weeks. Now it's been 4 years. We pushed for a political solution, but Western allies in the region hoped for a military solution and did not actually wait until they killed a lot of people to understand that there were going to be no political solution, no military solution.
You're listing a series of wars there, and you have previously said Iran has never started a war, it will not start a war, but we came very close to that very recently with the tensions in the Gulf. What is Tehran's point of no return? Could we be heading towards conflict with the United States?
Well,
what kind of conflict would that be?
We never start a war, but we never submit to aggression. You know, we call this Persian Gulf for a reason. It is close to our borders. We have 1,500 miles of coastline with the Persian Gulf. Now, the United States has come to our region from 7,000 miles away, is putting its vehicles, its aircraft, its unmanned aircraft, drones, inside our territorial waters, inside our airspace, and we will certainly defend our waters, our airspace, and our territory, and will continue to do that. Now, the only and the best way to avoid that is for the United States to stop interfering in our region. That's the source of instability. It has always been a source of instability.
I bet you are under a lot of pressure, not only with these renewed tensions, but also with this long negotiation for the nuclear deal. And I imagine it has also put you under a lot of pressure. Domestically, Iran will hold parliamentary elections next year, presidential elections in 2021. Salvaging this deal is as much as a fight for your own political survival and for the survival of a model that you and President Rouhani represent of a modern, reformed Iran, isn't it?
I'm not running for any office, so I do not have any political ambitions to survive or not survive. But I believe this is an important achievement, not just for Iran and the future of Iran and our region, but for the global community. This is one of the few cases of successful diplomacy. We haven't had too many cases to be proud of in the last quarter of a century. This is one of the few cases where diplomacy succeeded. And I have every reason to try my best to save it. And I believe Europe has every reason to try its best to save it. And I believe the international community has a lot of reason. Now, President Trump may not like this deal, but I can tell President Trump that this deal is also in his interest and in the interest of the United States.
You said you're not running for any office. You're not running for president. We cannot count on that.
You can count on me not running.
And you resigned earlier this year. Did that have anything to do with this deal?
No, that has something to do with the fact that I'm not running for anything, but I'm running away from something.
You're running away from the deal?
No. I'm running away from... I like to go back to university and continue teaching. But I'll stay on as long as I'm required to stay on to continue my responsibilities, which I will continue to do as long as people want me to do.
Would you say this is the fight of your life, your life's mission, this nuclear deal, and implementing it?
Well, I think what should be the fight for all of us is the fight for multilateralism and the rule of law. And for me, this deal is indicative of one of the triumphs of multilateralism and the rule of law, and I think everybody should be fighting for it, and I'll certainly fight for it, because I know how difficult it is to reach such a deal and how impossible it is to renegotiate such a deal.
Your economy is hurting as a result of it, though. You are expected to reach 50%. Inflation is expected to reach 50% this year. GDP is expected to contract 6%. Isn't that reason enough to try and accept a visit to the Oval Office, the one that you rejected, for example?
Well, I paid the price for it. I was designated. They put sanctions on me. But it's fine if I pay a personal price for rejecting to negotiate under duress, then I'll do it any time. But our economy is stabilizing. We have gone through the worst period. Our currency has recovered a third of its value since the shock of last year after President Trump's withdrawal. We are back in our first quarter. We are back in the green territory with our growth. So we suffered tremendously last year, and the United States is responsible for huge damages on Iran in hundreds of billions of dollars, which one day they will have to pay.
One day they will have to pay. Thank you very much for this interview. Foreign Minister, do you think the U.S. President Donald Trump has read this deal?
I don't think too many people have read this deal anyway. I wouldn't blame President Trump if he has not read the deal, but I think he should.
Would you like to send this one to him? We can do it on your behalf if you want.
I think he can just look. This is not a deal that he needs to look very far to find. It's a Security Council document, one of the longest Security Council documents ever voted on by the Security Council, and I would like to remind him that there was no revolution in the United States, and the U.S. government is still a permanent member of the Security Council. So if he doesn't like Obama, he likes the seat that the United States has in the Security Council, and he sat on that seat himself, and his Secretary of State has sat on that seat several times, including last week. So he should respect the documents that were issued from the Security Council, where he has a permanent seat.
Foreign Minister Cevad Zarif, thank you very much for speaking to Euronews.
It was good to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you.